Some of the qualities exhibited in psychopathic and narcissistic personality disorders: a tendency to posture oneself in domineering manner, when any sign of diminishing of one is insinuated, in a way that relies on the diminishing of one in turn to feel bigger. Empathy and the capacity to distinguish right from wrong, if not the casual approach to otherwise ethical conundrums not included, but in its extremes, undistinguished. In extremes, refusal to validate one's power over someone, warranting a visceral and invalidating stance. Even possessiveness over one's thoughts, and an insecure incapacity to exist as an observing patron to their own lives in the meantime. Even if we were to not muddy waters so directly, still, it's true that some men are bigger than others. I myself collected and mindful enough to observe such approach, even at one's most vehement, to explain one by their distress, rather in terms of how it affects me. It would be that during the time when we were peripherally accentuated, my nature was anything but predatory. Does this commentary in literacy reflect the kind of person who's only as simple as the domineering, the raping, the vain, and the unconscious, the insecure? In the ways the mulleted, mustachioed figures of control and distaste might exhibit, I guess? So where does it come from in these spectrums instead of where it is? And what and why is it descended through the socio-subjective so projectively? They are often archetypal compared to what yesterday was concerned with, if not the thought-forming forefront itself self-confirming at the seat of its pants, but the seeing what we think we see bearing much more implication. If you would like to understand that, look at what the corresponding versions of that form identifies it as, and you will find relative contradiction in the description of those forms. There was a Rorchach relativism to what the psychosocial phenomena of the last half of the last decade that self-confirmed at the transference of perspectives with the accentuated peripheral cognizance, that resulted in linguistic exchange with concept as language as it understands more than language speaks, was always contrast to what generational awarenesses were equipped to recognize. What Rorschach relativism refers to is, like the Rorschach blot test, where a subject is asked to briefly tell the tester what they see. While there is no right or wrong answer, it reveals at minimum a rough measure of the qualitative frame of mind of the subject. Put 6 people in a room and they will all say something different. Now apply the principle to the sociology and refraction, and what you will get is form as it is identified as precognitive bias. Now imagine yourself being the subject of their reproach. You may have found multiple forms being identified by people and everything at once. If you happen to be qualitatively comprehensive enough, you could probably identify this. But as per the record's official reasons for where a monster is, truth would have it that remains up in the air most of the time, if not for the fact that one existed as all and nothing at the same time. Simultaneously anti-gay, and weak, simultaneously racist and intrusive, simultaneously Satanist, rapist, pedophile, etc., etc. This is hardly the last most interesting part and means with which personal human facet in a society peripherally and still creatively engaged and understood by myself had to say. But I also exist in the causality of that rumor control.